You got that rocker, MJ, in the house, otherwise known as Marty Jannetty. You know how we do rock and roll, starting and strolling, and we're doing it right here on the Rundown Wrestling Network. Keep on rocking. Yeah.
Hey yo, there's no chance in hell. You wanna take what's mine and just too real. Hey yo, there's no chance in hell. You wanna take what's mine and just too real. Hey yo, there's no chance in hell. You wanna take what's mine and just too real. Hey yo, there's no chance in hell. You wanna take what's mine and just too real. Are you ready for war? Then bring it on. My craftmatic like a stripper. When it's out, you throw your cash at it. Hope I don't rat tat it from the hash and grass at it. I spittin' mad rapid like I took a bad package. You pay tolls of the drummer.
Welcome, everybody, to the WWE Rundown. I'm your host, Troy. Joining me, as always, Jason is here.
You say as always. That's not actually always the case, but I am here this week. It's been a hell of a week, so let's have some fun tonight.
You know, you're always in my heart, so...
And your pants.
That's true. Well, my hand's always in my pants when you're on my screen, so...
Well, that's fair.
That's right. We couldn't do this one alone this week because we have a very special guest.
John's here?
No.
Al?
No.
Adam?
No.
Has Jeff risen from the dead?
No.
Well, Ginger?
Nope, still dead too.
Is it that guy that you scared off after like 4 episodes on Adam's show?
He hasn't been heard from since.
Oh, well. I'm out of ideas then. Who do we got?
Well, you might know him from our predictions polls. He is the
Charlotte
one...
Squirt Cam?
Nope, not yet. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, live from Portugal, Mr. Bruno Tomas.
Hello, guys. And I feel like everyone is now disappointed because Jason gave every single one that is better than me. It's like, you know, I'm the third. Remember that Royal Rumble that the number 30 was Rey Mysterio? That's me. Rey Mysterio.
Oh,
hey, I didn't do Gods of Juggalo. There were a lot of guys I could have gone to. You know, Charlotte Squirt Cam sort of stands out a little bit, but it's nice to have you here too, Bruno.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
So with any of our brand new guests, we like to get a little bit of a backstory on how you got into wrestling.
So there's a difference between Portugal and America. For us, our peak was in the 80s, of course, and then it stopped airing. For example, I believe in 84, and relived in 2005. So for between 2003 to 2008, that was our peak. And I started watching in 2005 because all of my colleagues on fifth grade was watching wrestling, talking about basically everything from John Cena to Batista. And for me, it was like, dude, do you know that everything is fake, right? And then I was like, but watch. And I was like, dude, this is awesome. And I watched Rey Mysterio and Batista on a random SmackDown. That appear Undertaker doing stuff with Randy Orton, and I was like hooked from the beginning.
Awesome.
And then from there, I started watching Raw and SmackDown religiously. At 2010, I started digging into the Indies, so ROH. Back when Kevin Steen was a ROH champion and the rival between Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole. I believe in 2012 I entered Wrestling Portugal and became the ring announcer, and basically I've been all over wrestling ever since.
Awesome. So, how do you actually watch WWE there? Is it on a regular channel? Do they preempt it, or do you watch it live? How?
For the first time, I guess, since forever, we are watching the weekly programming live since last year, I believe.
Okay.
No, 2019. With Portuguese commentary, to phenomenal commentators, Jorge Botas and Bruno Almeida. They do the commentary. They are sometimes better than the English commentators because
it's not hard to be better than them.
Yeah.
That's not a high bar, Bruno.
It's not a high bar, but and basically it's live for the first time. We don't, because for example, when I started watching, we have like a 1 month delay, so everybody was like talking about WrestleMania. We're still talking about Elimination Chamber. Yay! Come on.
Fair.
They do call it Elimination Chamber over there, then.
Yeah, we are not Germany.
Okay, good to know.
As far as I know, no Jews have died there, so I think we're good.
Kinda. There was like a prime minister that basically pushed the Jews away from Portugal. So, yeah, we are not the good guys also.
Well, fair. I mean, you're talking to Americans, so.
Right. David K has chimed in on the side, and he's trying to blow up your spot. David, we're going to hold off on that. Stay tuned for future episodes at some point. But I actually have an interesting question, because this is sort of like something we do a lot. We do it a lot for fun, but it sort of like blows our minds sometimes that people actually listen to us talk shit. So my question, Bruno, is like, how long have you been listening to The Rundown, and how did you find us?
So I was listening to a podcast called Pile Driver Wrestling that ended. And I started to listen to Voices of Wrestling and everything like that. And one day I was searching on Podomatic and came with your podcast. Okay. I don't know when it was, but it had like a really bad 8-bit version of the Mid song.
Oh,
that was Adam.
Yeah, it was like really bad to begin with. Like, listen to that. Like, come on, skip forward. Oh.
Yep.
And that was how I found it. And I believe it's very difficult to found a podcast and a community that is so welcoming as you are. Basically, I'm not particularly the AEW or the WWE squad. I'm a New Japan guy. I still prefer in-ring action and in-ring storytelling and Naito versus Okada to everything that I see in both companies. But I feel like in this network, first of all, it's not bias that I feel like sometimes other podcasts are, and I feel like sometimes they are betraying their own audience, being so biased. And like I say, so welcoming. And one of the things that I appreciated was what you did for me last week, being so kind to me when I was really down, and listening to the words from Adam and all of you. Nonetheless, I think that Dick Loco is a little bit upset with Adam basically destroying his joke, and so he wishes that Adam has to suffer between like 12 hours of BTE, with Carl Anderson being like the focal point. So he's upset. He's really
all
upset.
sour boy all the time.
Yes, there you go.
Don't worry. Believe me, Adam's been butchering jokes on this network for years. It's not you specifically.
It's almost his gimmick at this point.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's Dick Locos. It's not.
Yeah, it's not him.
Yes, very difficult. A very different person.
He's just his mouthpiece.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Mouthpiece of Dicko Loco. That's an interesting. There's your title.
Yeah. Oh man. So, who was your first favorite in wrestling?
My first favorite in wrestling, I believe, was John Cena. I think that was one that I was like, dude, that guy's different. And then I passed to the phase that I felt like, I hate John Cena. I hate John Cena so much. And the problem was that my late mother loved John Cena so much. She was the only one in this house that saw something that I believe that Troy will appreciate it. She was a fan of Total Bellas. Like, and every time she saw an episode, she was like, "Dude, Bruno, like John Cena, don't let anyone use shoes in his house." Like, I just want to see Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, mother. This is really cool. No, I don't want to watch that. Please, don't embarrass me. So yeah.
To be fair, I've always said that I'm not the target audience for Total Bellas, so me hating it doesn't. I don't think it affects them that much.
Actually, my mother really loved live professional wrestling. She was like a fan live. She was like all over the place. She was like really happy. I remember the last show that we've been on. The last show we've been on. Randy Orton was on. And we were like in the second row. And the first row, there was like another mother and a child. The child was like 6 years old. And the mother was obsessed with Randy Orton, like really upset, to the point that the child was like, "Please, mother, stop." And that image is always in my brain the rest of my life.
Nice. So who's your current favorite in WWE?
That's a difficult question because my favorite from WWE was Adam Cole, man.
Oh yeah.
And he left, so and then it was Daniel Bryan, and he left. So
yeah,
I think right now the one that captivates me the most, I think is Riddle. I think it is Riddle because it's so. Every time I see him, he puts a smile on my face, and sometimes you only need someone to put a smile on your face. So probably Riddle, I guess.
Nice.
And Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns is doing like the best work of his life.
For sure.
So, which leads to my next, two questions basically. Who is your least favorite on the rundown, and why is it Sal?
I don't like Sal because if I want to see like a dollar store version of Taz, I see his son, not Sal. Fuck you, Sal.
Oh man. It's always a good. We're just gonna leave that in. It's always interesting to hear whenever you get like like families that collectively watch wrestling. Me, when I was growing up, I grew up in the Attitude Era, and it was so huge that everyone in my family watched wrestling. Like, my dad was sitting there, he was a Stone Cold fan, my mom was a Chris Jericho fan, I was a Hardy Boys fan, and so was my sister, and it was like, it was like,
I am so fucking old. God damn it.
But it was like, we'd sit there and be like, Monday night, like, let's finish our fucking dinner quickly because we gotta get to watching Raw at 7:00, and we would sit down as a family and watch wrestling, and that was such a crazy thing, to think about, and now obviously it still happens to an extent, but obviously not what it was during that time period. I know for Jason, he'd have to wait until the Coliseum VHS tapes come out in order to watch it.
Dude, you fucking joke. You do? But my first fucking pay-per-view that I ever watched live was WrestleMania 5.
Nice.
Hulk Hogan versus Macho Man Randy Savage from Trump Tower Casino. So I am old as fuck. Okay, I've learned to deal with it. And I did fucking go to West Coast Video in Somerville where I grew up, and I would rent the fucking Coliseum home videos. And I no shame in my game, sir.
That's fair. I was 5 years old when WrestleMania 5 was on, so
you can fuck off.
Bruno wasn't born yet.
Yeah, I'm 26, so
yeah. I got a decade on you, so but yeah. So we we do have some news to get to before we get into the week that was wrestling. Why don't we roundtable this, Jason, and I'll start off with some debuts, and then you can go into your news. So we had AEW Dark tapings this past week, and they had a couple of former WWE superstars showed up there. I know AEW is not one to hire a lot of WWE guys, but the former Arturo Huas, now back to his original name of Adrian Jowd, he debuted as Cesar Bononi's tag team partner, who, of course, was also in NXT. They wound up winning their match.
In NXT at one point, too, I think.
Maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like they did, but I don't know.
Maybe. Then FTR, which is the former WWE wrestlers, took on the team of Stallion Rogers and Anthony Green. Now, anyone who listens to this show knows Anthony Green, of course, is the former August Gray and the former Anthony Green. And Stallion Rogers is the former Kurt Stallion. So they wound up losing to FTR, and then in the next set of tapings, Anthony Green lost to Evil Uno, and Stallion Rogers lost to Joey Janela. So apparently big plans for Adrian Jowd, because he got to pick up a win. No plans at all for Anthony Green still.
I think they're just getting a look at him at this point. See if there's something there for them.
There is something there. Sorry, God.
Well, there is something there, but it's a matter of there's something there for them at this particular moment in time, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's better than a lot of the guys they have, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
I think you're missing the point. AEW is the best place for people to work there. Everyone is a main eventer. Everyone is a main eventer.
No. Some of them are future main eventers.
Yes.
In like 10 years.
Which means it's okay if they lose every single big match they're in because they're a future main eventer.
And there's a chairman guy who wins all the time, and sometimes you need to bring somebody up because Cody is very, very sad and he needs to win to someone.
Yes, you know.
Come on.
That's right.
TNT title back. That's
Don't be like that. You have to follow the narrative, okay? You are the wrestling intelligentsia. You have to follow the narrative.
But that's AEW rundown that does all that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You're on the wrong show tonight.
Oh, God. I missed the invitation from Ireland.
Well, that's probably because you said fuck Sal earlier. So.
Once again, fuck you, Sal. That's my catchphrase.
Hey, it works for me.
I think it's Sal's wife's catchphrase too.
Yeah. And then, I just wanted to before you get into yours, ROH had their Death Before Dishonor pay-per-view, right?
Hey, do me a favor. Tell me who Kingpin Brian Malone has faced on the pay-per-view, or the Bouncers, or anybody.
Well, they were at a battle royale.
Oh, so again, not a match, just a battle royale.
No. And that
ROH. I'm not watching an ROH pay-per-view until they put Malonis on the main show, main match.
Not only that where they just stuffed into a battle royale, but that battle royale was won by former Ari Sterling, now back to Asher Hale. Ari Sterling, of course, was the guy from 205 Live. I think you got
that backwards. Former Asher Hale, now back to Ari Sterling, isn't he?
No, I don't have it backwards. His name is Asher Hale.
Okay. I thought it was the other way around. My fault.
Wait.
Who is that?
No. Former Ari Sterling back to Alex Zane. Sorry. That's what it is.
Alex Zane. Okay.
Yeah, Alex Zane, yeah. Asher Hale is the other guy, but he hasn't debuted yet. But he'll probably be there too. Sorry, my brain doesn't work all the time. So Alex Zane back in ROH, wins the Battle Royal right off the bat. I don't think that Battle Royal was for anything. I think it was
for a title shot at the heavyweight title.
So he'll be losing. He wasn't the only person that debuted because there were two people that were not with the company last week who did get a match on the pay-per-view, unlike Brian Malonis, who's been there forever. Tyler Rust debuted by defeating the also debuting Jake Atlas.
Right, so Tyler Rust gets to be boring in another company.
Yeah. And he beat Jake Atlas so bad that Jake Atlas quit wrestling.
Yeah, he announced today he's going to step away from wrestling for now. No plans to return anytime soon.
No.
Going to pursue another career. So, hey, we wish him the best. He said he's suffered through 5 years in wrestling. It hasn't been easy. He hasn't enjoyed it. So, if you guys, this is a really, really tough business. And if you don't enjoy it, you don't love it, and you're not feeling it, it will really, really take a toll on you. So I hope for his mental well-being that he finds something he loves to do.
Mm-hmm.
He's very talented. That's a shame. That's a really shame because when I saw the news that he was like on our wage, I was like really happy for him because and now I don't get. I hope that I'm not going over myself, but there's a problem is that the spots on the top card are very small. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you are the right guy on the right place at the wrong time, and sometimes you need to leave the company, pursue something, and then return. For example, what happened to Drew McIntyre in like 2017 or 2016. And I was putting my nail on Jake Atlas for a future return to a bigger company. And when I saw that he decided to retire, I'm happy because he's probably doing something that is better for his life, but a bit sad because I'm a fan of his.
And he might be back, but yeah, I think that's taking a mental health break from everything, because as hard as it is for anybody to be a wrestler, it's infinitely harder to be a gay wrestler. And he has to deal with so much more than your average guy would have to deal with just because of the fact that he is gay. So I understand that. It sort of felt like, him working this match at ROH was maybe his being like, maybe it'll be different, but it didn't seem to be that way. So, again, more power to him to go and try to describe something else. He did come right on Twitter and be like, I don't want to do interviews. I don't want to talk about it. I'm done. Leave me alone. So, good on him. Okay, Jason, what you got for news?
Really not a whole lot that we're not going to discuss on NXT Rundown, so I don't want to go too deep into any of that. But there was something announced this week on Raw that we'll talk about in the coming weeks. But for the first time, when we've hinted at it and talked about it, and there's been rumors about it, but now it is official. The WWE Draft will return on October 1st, starting this time on SmackDown. Doesn't it typically usually start on Raw and then continue on SmackDown? Isn't that usually the format?
The format changed when SmackDown was acquired by Fox.
Yep.
Yeah, so they are now SmackDown will go first. Yes, as you can tell by the way they book it. SmackDown will go first, Raw will go second, and Raw gets 17 picks for every one SmackDown gets. So,
Yeah, last year. Last year it was SmackDown first, and I think the year before that it was the last time that it was Raw first and then SmackDown. Mm-hmm. So doesn't mean that Raw hasn't gotten the first pick most of those times, but yeah. So well, that'll be a lot of fun. The only issue that we keep having with the draft is that we keep being like, all right, we're going to get like these fresh matchups and stuff like that. And then inevitably what happens is it'll be like, oh, sweet, Seth got drafted over to SmackDown. He's finally going to be done with Rey Mysterio. And now Rey Mysterio got drafted to SmackDown.
And Dominic Mysterio.
Well,
and
shit.
Mysterio.
Yep.
And Buddy Murphy.
Yep. So if we could not do that anymore, that would be great.
The other thing is, and this is sort of the problem with this draft at this point, is, and I guess it's overriding issue of the entire format of the WWE at this point, because who's the exciting new person that you've never seen on SmackDown or that you've never seen on Raw?
Yeah. There
really hasn't been a lot of turnover within this company where, everybody that's there has pretty much been there forever and been on both shows, and it's really nothing new. You know what I mean? Back in the day when they first did this, it was like, oh, okay, well, I haven't seen John Cena on SmackDown. He's always been a Raw guy, or I haven't even, now that's not really the case anymore. Everybody's sort of been everywhere. I mean, Kevin Owens, I think, has switched every draft, and The Miz too, same thing. So it's like, okay, I guess we'll do this again.
The only thing that probably be interesting, and that is if they have a plan for him, is like for a guy like Keith Lee to switch from Raw to SmackDown, or that Viking
I think he'd be
guy,
switching from main event to SmackDown actually.
the third person on the Viking Experience, I believe, is called Karrion Kross.
Yeah.
I don't know who that guy is, but it looks like the third wheel on the former War Raiders. Like, dude.
Now being drafted to main event, Dominic Mysterio.
I think the only person that hasn't swapped shows ever is Carmella. I think she's the last person that has never been on a different show. She's always been on SmackDown.
Yes.
And obviously, like
That's
any of the new people, like Bianca Belair, was only
she
SmackDown.
On Raw with R-Truth?
Was she on Raw with R-Truth? I thought
during the 24/7 thing.
That's correct. Because Carmella was the 24/7 champion on a period of, I believe, 2 or 3 weeks. That the title was only defended for women. And the really complaint girl called Maria Kanellis won the championship. Think about it. Mike Bennett did not win one championship in his run and in WWE, but Maria Kanellis, pregnant, won a championship. Fantastic.
Didn't he?
Mike Bennett had the 24/7 title once.
Yes, he did. That's right.
Yeah. He beat Maria for that.
Yeah.
On the gynecologist, I guess.
Although she had it at least for more than one day. His 2 reigns lasted less than 20 seconds. Yeah. Technically, his kid also held the title longer than he did. So.
Fetus Maria.
Most of it at this point, people switching shows and stuff like that, it's not a huge deal because we have seen it so much. What I'm more interested in is the call-ups, obviously, because there's always going to be at least 1 or 2 of them, probably a couple more. So,
and particularly this year with the rebrand of NXT and the notion that we want to clear some of the old guard of NXT out of NXT so that we can make room for some of the younger guys. Maybe we did a little too much of that tonight, but we'll talk about that when we get to the NXT rundown. So yeah, I think that for that point, that's accurate. The problem with that is that I don't think NXT is in the draft. So those will just be people that show up randomly after the draft, right?
Well, they're not in the draft, but they can be drafted.
Well, that's fucking stupid.
Well, that's the way it is. That's the way it's been other than that 1 year.
No, they've only drafted from NXT 1 year, I think. It was the year they called up Finn Balor.
Yes.
They drafted Finn Balor. Other than that, NXT's never been in the draft. Their guys have been called up after the draft, but they haven't drafted them out of NXT.
I believe Jason is right, because last year the call-ups were before. It could be on the show, but it was not a part of the draft thing. It's like they showed up. It's like Keith Lee showed up.
So I think you're getting twisted with the Superstar Shakeup, because like the Viking Raiders showed up as part of the Superstar Shakeup, I believe.
Okay.
But it's stupid how they do that. It basically is a draft, but it isn't actually a draft.
Well, technically, last year on Raw Talk, they had Arturo Huras go from NXT to Raw, but he wasn't really on NXT. He was already on Raw Underground. So yeah. Right. But yeah, you are correct. It looks like it's just been like the trades afterwards and shit like that, or the free agents.
Right.
So, yeah, it was the one. Yeah, the Street Profits got drafted from NXT to Raw in 2019. And so that was one team, and then like you said, the year before that it was the Viking Raiders, Viking Experience at the time. So yeah, like I said, I'm interested to see what'll happen, but I'm not. There's not really going to be anybody big. You're not going to have Roman go back to Raw.
AEW.
Yeah,
everybody should just sign with AEW.
There you go.
Cody needs to feed his ego so much. So
I don't think he's ever beaten Roman Reigns.
Will be a main event. Everybody, if they screwed Roman Reigns over, he will be a main eventer on AEW, winning the championship from Kenny Omega and then losing to Cody Rhodes.
Yes.
Hello. AEW 101.
Yep.
Only other thing I got, and we'll discuss this more in depth on NXT Rundown. Obviously, for anybody following things, it was announced that Samoa Joe is out with injury once again and will be relinquishing the NXT title. A new champion was crowned tonight on the debut episode. Tune into a NXT Rundown for more on that. I don't want to spoil it for anybody that hasn't seen it yet. But this is fucking concerning with Joe at this point. I mean, he came back for one match. For those of you who saw that match and we commented on the NXT Rundown when we recapped it, Cross clearly went out of his way to pull his punches against Joe to keep him from getting hurt, and he still got hurt. At this point, like, people were talking about, like, if you're Vince McMahon, how do you release Samoa Joe? And if the guy can't go more than one match every year without getting injured, I mean, there's not a whole lot of return on that investment at that point, right?
Right.
The only thing that I see Joe, and I believe they are switching him for, is to be a part of a group with Triple H, with William Regal, to basically being the front runners of what is the developmental system of WWE, but not as a...
Either that or, and this is an interesting concept, Bruno, and you guys, I don't know how far back you go, but there was a period of time in WCW where they did sort of New Blood versus the WCW, I think they called them a Millionaires Club, which obviously was designed to make them heels. But if you were to take, like, Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, Samoa Joe, William Regal, Triple H, like you mentioned, and just sort of have them be like the old, hey, this is what NXT used to be, and sort of match them up with some of these newer guys, that could be an interesting storyline, and it could lead to War Games. So, there's that.
Nice.
That will probably could work, and I feel like Joe could bring so much more than just wrestling right now.
Yeah. Well, we know he's working in the scouting department and helping them, determine people. We've already discussed that. So, he has clearly got other plans outside of wrestling.
Yeah. All right. I only have one bit of news, and then we can get into the shows. So, a couple days ago, a report from TMZ Sports came out saying that former WWE superstar Al Snow wound up saving a young child's life. Apparently, he was out on Santa Rosa Beach in Destin, Florida, when he noticed a small boy out at sea getting hit by waves and being pulled away. Now, Snow is 58 years old. He saw that there was a lifeguard on the beach, but realized that lifeguard was not going to be able to make it there in time. So he sprang into action and was able to grab the kid and bring him back to shore. So, first of all, awesome on him. The fact that his first thought was, I gotta go fucking save that kid, instead of, let me go alert this lifeguard to what's going on. But also, when you think about some of the other incidents that we've been hearing lately, with Shad Gaspard a couple of years ago, or last year, I should say, who had the same sort of thing happen to him, where he saved his child, but himself lost his life. It's great to hear that both of them are back safe and alive.
Yeah, good on him.
Mm-hmm. It's great news, and I hope that there's like a head figure just in that beach to in the memory of in the present memory of Al Snow. It's like, that is the guy who had a head and saved a life. Fuck you, Al, again.
It's
what you did with your life.
It's so funny because, of course, the article mentions that I'm reading. It's famous for carrying around a mannequin head named Head. It's like, did you have to put that in there? Did you have to put that in the article that he carried around a mannequin head?
Oh God.
Oh man.
TMZ is such a great news source that I'm blown away. Oh God.
Yes, it's a huge surprise that they would, not deal with things tactically. All right.
So,
yes.
I was curious if we were going to do a What Did Marty post, but I'm looking at, and there's a lot of videos of his cat taking a shit or litter box stuff.
Yes, he's been doing a lot of that lately. It's
not quite sure what's going on there. This one, not so much funny, but 9 hours ago he posted, "Oh man, I am definitely GAT, God's amusement toy. Right after I put up a post mocking COVID, basically I find out my cousin died yesterday from it. Rhonda and I were fairly close when way younger, but time kind of drifted us apart. She was such a great soul. R.I.P. Rhonda. Tell my dad hello, and I love and miss him for me. P.S. That's my sister, Dane Little, for those who didn't know." And it's a screenshot of the post. So, way to bring it down, Marty. Jeez.
Can we have a funny one, please?
I just let me see if I can find one. It's literally like it's all shit with his cat, and most of it litter box stuff.
It's been weird for sure.
Oh, here's one. So there's a video that accompanies this one of him walking his cat around his apartment complex on a leash, and the post itself says, "Swaggy's cocky ass keeps trying to hook me up with the girl right across the hall from us. And she is pretty and her body ooh-wee, packed and stacked, but she's married and we don't do that. No matter if we saw him with another at the club, married, off limits. But here he is being cocky till the hedge clipper guy came by with that zzz noise."
Nice. Yeah, the only one that I had was, "I promise to take this down real quick, but wanted to tell y'all, as y'all are my people. Was just outside walking Swaggy and met not just a beautiful young lady that lives 3 doors down, no, not the band, but so class, she was impressed Swaggy could be walked on a leash. Then we made plans for later. I had to come back, sit on the couch, and as Fat Joe said, lean back, and said, sheet. And it's like, who's better than us? LOL, sometimes life is real good. P.S. The reason I said I was going to take this down was because I was going to say I leaned back, scratched my balls, and said shit, but I didn't say it, so I guess I can leave this up."
I have
no words.
I have to take notes because I'm single at 26, and I thought that I need a dog. I was wrong. I need a cat.
Apparently.
On a leash.
Cat on a leash, yes.
Yeah.
Cat on a leash. Thank you, Marty Jannetty.
There you go.
You were a savior.
Hey, if there's one...
Marty Jannetty, a gentleman and a scholar.
Yes.
Or neither of those things.
Oh, God. I hope one day, when I'm doing my PhD thesis, I have a mention of Marty Jannetty for some reason. It's like, and then Marty Jannetty did this.
The swag star hates others to shit in his box. How often does that happen?
Enough so that he has an opinion on it, apparently.
From what he told us, he lives alone with his cat. So how often is Marty shitting in the cat's litter box?
Either that or it's some of the girls he brings over.
Fair, okay.
Oh, Jesus Christ. What happened, Marty?
I'm not rocker Marty Jannetty, but you got shit in that litter box.
I think that the sugar glass from the barber shop probably did something wrong with his brain or something like that.
Maybe he's got a piece of it lodged in there.
Yeah, like on the middle, like giving him diabetes and something like that.
You think he says to the girls like, "Hey, you got that rocker MJ in your ass"?
I have to... Taking notes again.
Maybe that's what you need. Maybe you need like a catchphrase. Like you got that you got that El Dico Loco right up in your ways. So.
Who's that?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's not me. That's not me.
Sorry, I forgot. That's when you're getting.
I'm a huge friend of Dico Loco.
Mm-hmm.
He is now on Mexico with El Generico selling generic dildos to poor children, but I don't know who it is.
Wait, where did you say he was?
In Mexico with El Generico.
Sal. Ask Sal. He'll know.
Sal.
He'll know where to find him.
Yep.
Me and Sal, we are on a rivalry,
That's true.
Yeah.
Fair point.
So, I guess we can get into to the week that was wrestling. I guess. So we can.
Can I start with one?
Sure, go ahead.
What the actual fuck is going on between Charlotte and Nia Jax?
That's a good question.
Because we all know about the shoot fight. We all saw the match where they tried to sort of create an element of shoot into the real match. And then you watch this week, and Nia comes down during her match with Shayna, and Charlotte gives her the suck it sign, apparently wanting her to eat her pussy. I don't know. And then Nia is like smelly, like she's telling her to fucking box things. What the fuck is going on between these two women, Troy?
I have no idea. Apparently,
this is the greatest women's rivalry of all time, and we are too dumb to realize the surface of this amazing masterpiece. One woman with a smelly pussy fighting another woman that don't want to eat her pussy. See us tonight on Extreme Rules. Oh wait, that's still a doll and something like that. So no pussy on Extreme Rules.
That's right.
Do that. No, it was the whole thing has been really weird. And Charlotte's like, I think you mentioned in the host, she's in like 4 different feuds at this point.
Yep.
None of them really good. Like, I don't know what we're doing with this women's division right now.
I think there's a problem in the Raw women's division. Is there is no I don't know. Is that I believe that Asuka is injured. I guess on her elbow. So there is no one I feel like on that division that could step up to basically be with Charlotte that is not on the last 2 or 3 months on a feud with her. Like for example,
I got one. Let's bring Toni Storm over from SmackDown, because what the fuck is she doing over there? Like, we've got an influx of these talented women from NXT. Toni Storm, Shotzi Blackheart, Tegan Nox, all these women that we've called up, and we're doing fuck all nothing with them.
Maybe
so that we can have more Nia Jax and more Shayna Baszler. And by the way, I am a fan of Shayna Baszler. Her and Charlotte have no in-ring chemistry at all. It is clunky and brutal every time they are in the ring together.
Yeah. It's awkward. It's like
it's like 2 alpha females and neither one wants to give anything to the other. It's bad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you saw it with, even like there was a reversal, and like Charlotte turns around and Shayna's going to start doing her punches, and it was like, and I was, it just they don't flow well together, and it's like is Shayna and Nia having a feud that also somehow involves Charlotte, but also involves Alexa Bliss, and it's like I need a fucking flowchart to figure out what this feud is at this point. Like we know we've got a match between Alexa and Charlotte, but then we've also for some reason got these other two that are like imploding with each other, and they're leading to a match, but I don't get it. I don't get why they have to combine those two together.
And let's expand it further out. We've got a Raw women's tag team championship team that never fucking wins, but somehow is still champions.
Well, that's a good segue, because so you knew that this segment was already going to have issues when Sonya Deville called her Nikki AHS.
Yeah.
Now, thankfully, Corey was like, she must be a big fan of American Horror Story. He tried. So it's like, but then, so we had Nikki ASH against Tamina, and then we're going to follow that up with Natalya versus Rhea Ripley. Now, I could see what they were going to do. They were going to have each person get a win apiece to kind of be like, okay, prolong the feud. What happened, though, was Nikki hit a crossbody on Tamina, and as we continue to say, if you don't kick out, you're going to get counted out. The ref counted the 3. Tamina kicks out after the 3. The bell rings, and because apparently even the ring announcers are scripted, they announce that Tamina is the winner as Tamina's music plays. And everyone is fucking confused. It's like, I'm sorry, who won?
It reminded me a lot of, do you remember when we were doing the Raw from the Performance Center, and they did that match, and I forget who it was with, but Shayna Baszler wrestled somebody, and Shayna tapped that person out, and they announced that person the winner, and Shayna just like stormed off through the production area, didn't even go back up the stage.
Yeah.
Like, I forget who, God, I wish I remember who that was, but this very much reminded me of that. Like, someone was supposed to win, or the script got screwed up somewhere, and they just went with it and didn't pay any attention to what was actually happening in the ring.
Yeah. Weird.
But come on.
And by the way, it feels like every week we find a new way for Tamina to be awful. Now she can't even win the matches she's supposed to fucking win.
Yep.
I think that we still have to give Tamina a chance because Twitter is saying so. It's like, come on. It's like she's an amazing performer in something, I guess. Like doing poetry or something like that.
Oh my gosh.
Well, and then the promo before the match, Natalya and Tamina talk about how we dominate decades. Like, which one?
Yeah.
Because you've got, what, like 2 women's title reigns between you over the last 40 years? Which decades did you dominate?
Yes.
Tamina, Natalya is like my soccer club called Sporting. We haven't won a championship in 19 years, but we still feel like we are an important club. So it's like I'm Natalya. I won something like 20 years ago. Please put me in the same level as the 4 horsewomen, because if you put me at the $1 level, I will be really sad on Twitter.
Natalya is like Marty Jannetty's cat.
Yes. It's a pussy. Yeah, we actually have those people here in America too. They're called Dallas Cowboys fans. We were really good in the 90s. Yeah, so were the Bulls. Anyways, they obviously the announcers again tried to cover this up because they're like, even Nikki Cross looks surprised that she won. It's like, no, Nikki's looking around being like, that wasn't supposed to happen. Like, so either Tamina was supposed to kick out, which obviously she did late, or she was supposed to reverse the pin into a roll up of her own to get the win, right? Neither of those things happened. And it's like, Tamina, I understand that, like, you know, you learned a lot from your dad and from the Hogan years, but kicking out after the 3 count is only something you do when you're a prick like Hulk Hogan and you can't bother to take a loss. But yeah. And then
Tamina, we know you learned a lot from your dad, but we'd like it if you didn't kill Nikki.
Yes.
Oh god, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Imagine Tamina versus the son of Chris Benoit. Oh god, please don't. That's your fault, Jason. That is your fault.
Right on.
It usually is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be a fight to the death. I as much as I appreciate the amount of time that the women got this week, I don't need to continue to see Doudrop versus Eva Marie.
Well, it's only the first real match we've seen between the two.
And that should be the last. I don't know. Yeah.
I just feel like there's so many better ways you could utilize Eva Marie than what they're doing, honestly.
Yeah.
In a bikini shoot, for example.
I honestly, like, she's a fucking heat magnet. So all you really need to do is utilize her against a top face, and that top face will be way more over because of who's on the other side of the ring from her.
Yep.
Doudrop is not that top face.
No.
You don't need to use Eva Marie to build a new face. That's not what she should be doing.
I mean, I can see her against Nikki ASH. It's a perfect feud because you've got Eva who will just pick apart the fact that she's a tiny little midget person, and that she's...
And Eva can be a super villain.
Yeah. And they just won't do that for some reason. And I get it. Eva Marie can't wrestle, but, it's... You can use her much better than this.
But Tamina can?
No, she can't either. That's the problem.
Okay.
So, but we can think about other things. It's like, for example, is there a team or an individual that needs a mouthpiece to become a bigger heel?
I think he was already a mouthpiece backstage. So,
oh God,
there's that. But no, there's an idea though. You find somebody who is talented in the ring, and you put them in a tag team with Eva Marie, and that would work.
Yeah.
And the other person can carry it, and Eva Marie can get the wins, and she'll get more heat for stealing the wins from her teammate. And I mean, that's what they were intending to do with Doudrop, and then they broke this shit up before it ever really got going.
Yeah.
I got one idea. Tony Storm. Puts Tony Storm as an heel.
No.
What?
No.
Why?
We're not putting Tony Storm anywhere. Tony Storm is too good, too charismatic. She needs to be a star on her own. She's not a tag team division worker.
The problem is like you presented Tony Storm as a big deal, like 2 months ago.
For 1 week, yes.
Yeah, for 1 week, and we haven't seen her yet.
Nope.
So there's a part of the audience thinking that, for example, there's like 600,000 people watching NXT and 2 million watching Raw, or 1 million, and that don't know who Tony Storm is. That probably, and I feel like, and her last run in NXT, Tony Storm proved that she's a better heel, that she's a better face.
Yeah.
So maybe
she was really finding her role as a heel towards the end. To be fair, her promos really, really improved. And she definitely, her in-ring work as a heel definitely got better. The thing I really struggle with the most, and I think it's the biggest problem as it relates to all of this, is the WWE, under their banner, has probably the greatest collection of female talent in the world, except we only ever focus on 5 women. And that's a big problem.
Well, for one, Aaliyah is part of the Raw roster.
Yep.
We have yet to see her. Dana Brooke is maybe knocked up, maybe not. Who knows at this point? Mia Yim is still AWOL. You could always bring back Ember Moon. Moon and Marie would be a good teaming. Yeah. And then obviously Liv Morgan never gets a chance.
Right.
So.
And probably is going to be called up for really soon. Dakota Kai could probably go or either to Raw or to SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
But you can send them all there. Tony Storm is a great addition to the main roster, except they never use her.
Right.
You can send Dakota Kai up there. If you don't use her, it doesn't fucking matter. We have to and WWE has to get out of this mindset that nothing women's division will work unless it features Charlotte, Becky, Bayley, or Sasha.
Yep.
Like, they have to get out of that mindset. Even when they were pushing Asuka, who were they pushing her against?
Right.
All of them.
Bayley and Sasha, and then Charlotte.
I think that there's a booking problem in the last 20 years, is understanding that you can see a year of booking like smaller stories, like, for example, Marvel. For example, there could be like a 2 or 3 month run that the focal point is, for example, I don't know, Tony Storm. Then it could be, I don't know, Nikki Cross or something like that. And you
I'm sorry, that's Nikki ASH.
It's very difficult for me.
It's difficult for Sonya Deville to say it, so.
Yeah, for me, it's Nikki Ash or Nikki Cross. It's like
agreed. It should be Nikki Ash. I'm so sick of having to hear Nikki ASH 7 times.
It's very
so
difficult
awkward
to pronunciate. It's like ASH, like it looks like it's the same as a car. It's like a model of a car. Now we have like a Citroën ASH. It's very economic.
And that, my friend, is why Troy simply calls her
Nikki AS.
Yeah, but I believe that there's the same problem with them in the men's division. Is there is no first of all, there's no way to sometimes give mid-card stories the spotlight that they deserve. For example, they cannot main event a pay-per-view. They can main event, for example, a weekly show. But for example, in SmackDown the last year, Roman Reigns finished all the shows. It's great, but it's being a focal point for all the shows. Bobby Lashley is the focal point for all the shows on Raw. And we compare, for example, when I believe that was the best edition of NXT. Sometimes the main champion was not the focal point of one particular weekly show.
There were times where you didn't see that guy for 2-3 weeks at a time.
Exactly.
And to your point, I think they have danced around that from time to time. I remember they made a big deal and main evented when Big E beat Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental title, right?
Yes.
So they have sort of done that, and they've tried it, and I guess they've said it doesn't work, so let's go back to the fucking same old.
Mm-hmm. The problem is the main event became so overexposed. For example, you cannot put right now Drew McIntyre in a WWE title picture because for 2 years he was so overexposed. Every weekly show, every pay-per-view.
Well, now you can, because now that Lashley doesn't have the title anymore.
Yeah, you can now.
Fight for it, so.
It will be a face versus face, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, Drew can do.
Oh, but more on that later. I'm I'm spoiling here.
Yeah. Well, I guess we could talk about it if you wanted to segue into it.
Fuck it, let's go for it.
So
we did sort of bury the lead, I guess.
Yeah. So over on Twitter, we had a message from Big E right before Raw went on the air saying, "I'm coming to Raw and I'm going to cash in my Money in the Bank." And of course, you read that and you're like, okay, yeah, sure, that's what you're going to do.
So you're about to cash it in, and then somebody's going to jump you, or it's going to be a disqualification or whatever.
Yep.
Sure, yeah. Okay.
So then the show started, and of course we had a Orton and Bobby Lashley talking segment, and Big E was there as well, and he continued to say, "I'm gonna cash in on your ass after that match is done." And you're like, okay, now we're definitely just like fucking around. He's just trolling her like that. Yeah.
Perhaps my favorite moment of Raw in its entirety, other than the end, but was the moment where like Lashley is face to face with Randy Orton and Big E just slides in between them and then just sort of subtly holds up.
He was so good throughout this entire episode, and every time he was on, he kept sneaking in behind people and like just holding up. So the entire show is revolving around the fact that like, yes, we're gonna have this title match, but Big E continues to be like, I'm gonna fucking cash in and I'm gonna win. I'm gonna cash in. I'm gonna win. So we get the match, Orton and against Bobby Lashley. It was a really good match. I thought that both of them looked really good. Bobby, for sure, had probably one of his best matches in WWE.
Orton doesn't really have bad matches.
No.
Sometimes they're boring, but they're never bad.
And this, the knock against Orton has always been like, too many rest holds and stuff like that. There was no fucking rest holds in this match. Like, It was just go.
So,
yeah.
So everyone said Randy Orton too many rest holds, and then Baron Corbin went, hold my beer.
Yeah, exactly.
Now people don't care about Randy Orton's rest holds so much.
So, obviously Orton...
Baron Corbin's finisher is the rear chin lock. I'm just saying.
True, yeah. So Bobby Lashley does wind up retaining, and he proceeds to put Orton through a table, and while he does, he sustains, that's air quotes because you can't see me, sustains an injury to his knee, and Big E's music hits. So he comes running out, and they announce Big E is cashing in his Money in the Bank, and then we cut to commercial. And I was like, first I was like, because of course I have to watch this on the USA app. I'm like, did the USA app just fuck me? Like, did they just... Then I like went on Twitter. I was like, oh no, that was the broadcast that did that too. Not great timing, but I get it.
Nope. Poorly timed out.
Yeah. So then we come back, and the announcers let us know that, hey, Bobby Lashley is refusing to do the match because he is injured. Which that was easily solved by just slapping him in the fucking face and being like, no, you're doing it. So they agreed to it.
Also, that's never been a thing. Dolph Ziggler was pretty much unconscious when he got beaten. But
right, exactly. So the match does start, and for a little bit there, it sure fucking looked like Bobby Lashley was going to beat Big E and fuck up his whole plan.
And that would have been such a WWE thing to do.
Yes.
And how fucking sad is it that this company has so conditioned us that they're going to fuck us over and find a way to not let... Like, and this is what I sort of ranted about on AEW the other day. Say what you want about AEW. They may sometimes do the obvious and easy thing, but the fans get what they want ultimately.
Yeah.
Right? But WWE, the reason this is such a shocker is because they didn't fuck us over. They actually gave the fans what they wanted for once.
Yeah. Yeah, so Big E kicked out of the spear and winds up hitting the big ending and is your new WWE champion. So right off the bat, it was like oh my god, we just had back-to-back African-American champions. Like, they've never done that before. They never had that before. And it didn't feel forced. It didn't feel like tokenism. It felt earned. Lashley felt earned when he won the championship. He was doing great work. He had a great mouthpiece behind him. He had a great presentation. His presentation's been amazing. Big E...
Oh, he's winning that title right back.
Big E has felt this felt earned for Big E as well, because you had 2 months of him sort of building up, with the case, and he's been so charismatic and so like undeniably talented. And the fact that you saw the outpouring of support once he actually did win it, that it was like, are we seriously going to get two black guys like trading this belt for a little bit and feuding with each other? And that's fucking awesome, obviously people love to go and fucking shit on it right off the bat and trying to claim that like, oh, WWE was just trying to pop ratings. It's like, yeah, everything is. That's why they have a TV show. Like, don't you understand that, like, every wrestling company's trying to pop ratings. Like, that's why AEW had CM Punk on Rampage instead of on Dynamite, because they wanted to pop ratings for it. That's why they keep having these debuts, because they want to pop ratings for it. Like, that's what it always is about. It's about getting people to watch your fucking show, because otherwise you would just do live events, right? You wouldn't have a TV show. So that argument doesn't hold any water at all, to just be like, oh, they're just trying to fucking pop ratings. Like, yeah, of course they planned it out to be the first week that you had Monday Night Football, because they knew that they needed to do a little something to get at least some ratings back, but they had planned this out. Like, this actually was supposed to be the second day of the draft, was yesterday, and they moved the draft to October. So they had always planned on Big E was going to cash in this date. Like, this was it. This was what they had fucking in Sharpie on their calendar. Like, this is the day Big E's cashing in and winning, So, but I was very happy. I'm a big Big E fan. And I loved everything about this. But I want to hear what you guys had to think.
So, it's hard. First off, I was 100% wrong, and I will open by saying that. In that I said for a while ago I didn't think Big E could win credibly the heavyweight title while still sort of being goofy and clowning around. I thought he had to heel turn or become more serious or more like Lashley, I guess, if you want to say that. But he didn't, and it worked, and good on him. And I'm happy to be wrong on that. That said, here's where I pour a little cold water on it. And this isn't necessarily... This didn't have that same emotional feeling I had when Kofi won, for example.
Sure.
And that's hard to recreate that. But like, you saw the New Day run out, and it didn't feel the same as when the New Day ran out when Kofi won. And I felt like it sort of should have. and maybe that's just me like looking for something that's unfair to look for, but that's sort of how I felt. It was like, oh, okay, this is a really nice moment, but it's very similar to this other one, except a little bit less than.
I feel like there are different things, I guess, because for Kofi we have like the amount of years he was in WWE that didn't have a title match, didn't have the opportunity, so it's more than just being like a New Day guy that won the championship, and it was in WrestleMania. It was against Daniel Bryan, and I believe that the Kofi story is more similar to the Daniel Bryan story at WrestleMania 30 than is to now Big E story. For me, I think everything was absolutely perfect. The Big E won the Money in the Bank briefcase, and the booking was not the normal booking of someone that won the briefcase, that is to lose every single match to become the moment.
Well, no, but he only had, I think, like 2 or 3 televised matches after he won the briefcase. He sort of stopped wrestling.
But it's a good thing. It's better than, for example, what happened to Daniel Bryan, that he was losing like every single week, I guess.
Yeah.
And I believe it's very difficult to do a face cash-in that the face feels like it was not a fluke win, and I didn't feel it was like a fluke win, and felt smart, because, for example, John Cena's cash-in, he decided to cash in beforehand. He looked stupid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't look like a normal guy. I believe the only one that you can say that it's better than this one was Rob Van Dam, that he decided, you know what, I'm going to cash in this on my terms on ECW One Night Stand. I believe this cash-in is almost better than, for example, what Dean Ambrose did, Jon Moxley, on Seth Rollins, because it was like it was a face cash-in. It was not a fluke win from behind or something like that. On the beginning of the night, it said, I'm going to cash in this briefcase.
Yeah,
So,
and I agree with a lot of that up until you say it wasn't done as a fluke victory, and I wish they hadn't thrown in the quote-unquote knee injury.
Yeah, I agree.
okay. Yeah,
Because I
agree.
feel like they did that just to give Lashley an out for losing, which, again, great, you give Lashley this out for losing, but you take a little bit away from Big E winning, which really should be the focus here.
Well,
I have to agree.
And you-
I have to agree.
but you gave him 2 outs because he also wrestled a
Right.
match. Like,
Right, yeah, exactly.
that's enough to me. It's like,
Right.
he can sit there and be like, I had to wrestle 2 matches and that's why I lost. But now you're like, not only did I have to wrestle 2 matches, but I also fucking my knee up. You know, like,
Right.
yeah.
No,
So
true.
yeah,
Very true.
that was maybe a little bit too much, but considering the history that we've seen, like, it's not that bad that we had the outgoing champion like that have a reason for it, because you do want to still keep him strong, and obviously we're going to continue down this path, because this obviously Orton's part in this was just to get to this, you know.
Right. Yeah.
So I was fine with that. I do get a little bit of the booking criticism, but you know, I do like it whenever a face tells you this is what I'm going to do, and then they do it, you know.
Right.
So I liked it for that aspect of it. But you also do give a little bit of fuel to anybody who wants to go against Big E to be like, well, you ran away from Roman, you know, and you came over here and you kind of picked your spot. So there is that good aspect of it where you do have you got some fuel for the heels, and you've obviously got fuel for Big E as well. Now,
So here's the next question. Do you ever see a scenario under which Xavier Woods wins the championship?
No.
Because I feel like it's tough. I feel like that's the storybook ending, is all 3 of them end up as WWE champions someday, but I just don't know that they view Xavier Woods in that same sort of light.
man, Xavier Woods hasn't even won
And
it.
he might be the most charismatic of the group, honestly.
Yeah.
In ring, he's unbelievable, but
Yeah.
I don't feel like I feel like Xavier Woods is so good on the mic. They see him as the mouthpiece for New Day. I think that Big E winning the championship, we will probably get a 3-way with all the New Day members in the future.
Maybe.
I don't feel like there's a need for anyone to turn heel. I was like, okay, let's do this. Let's see who the better man is. And but I don't feel like Xavier or Consequences Creed. And it's unfortunately because we if we compare the three guys, there's the one that is most charismatic and in the ring probably at the same level as the other two.
Right.
He's
very important.
He's surprisingly the one that looks the most like a pro wrestler too, because Big E is so huge that he doesn't look like he should be able to do the things he does. Xavier is fucking ripped, he's got a good height to him and stuff like that, but they need to. I guess first we need to see him as a singles run because he's the one guy that hasn't had one yet. Right. So, and
I felt like we were gearing up for that because he was doing a little bit of that while Kofi was out.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
But not so much. The one thing I will say, too, that I really do want to give them credit for is they have so protected Lashley's spear. Like, it's been the devastating finish that nobody has been able to, like, sort of stop.
Mm-hmm.
And they had Big E kick out of it. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure.
I would have loved to see him break out of the Hurt Lock, like, power out of that. Because that would have been the big money. Because nobody's gotten out of the Hurt Lock since it became a thing. I think. Oh, Drew did once.
Yeah,
but
Drew did once. Yeah,
it's been.
There's time though.
Pretty protected.
There's time though. You could do it because I feel like if we're not getting this match at Extreme Rules, we're building it up for whatever the fuck's after Extreme Rules.
Oh, see, we're getting it. I feel like we're getting the rematch of Extreme Rules. I feel like Lashley's getting the title back. So I still feel like the plan is Lashley and Goldberg in Saudi Arabia.
I mean, you could still do Lashley and Goldberg at Saudi Arabia without the title.
You can, but the Saudis want Goldberg in the title picture. We've seen this time and time again.
Did you put them in the 3-way?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Did you? Oh,
Big E.
Yeah.
Big E talk about wanting to facing Goldberg like as soon as he won the Money in the Bank briefcase, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
You put those guys in a 3-way. That's Big E's. That's an orgasmic situation for Big E because that's a lot of big meaty men slapping meat right there.
That's true.
And I love that they worked that into the show.
Yeah. I mean, a 3-way with those three guys would be a lot of fun. And I feel like you could do that at Saudi and still have Big E retain.
And it's a way to protect Goldberg because let's face it, it's like diminishing returns every time we see Goldberg in the ring.
Yeah.
So having like two guys that can go out and then Goldberg appears, do a spear or two, jackhammer or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier to navigate in this situation than in a one-on-one situation like it was in SummerSlam.
Talk about a guy that continues to tarnish his legacy, but whatever.
Did you, by the way...
So Sting.
Yeah, exactly. Did you happen to see that WWE has made more money on the Saudi Arabia deal than every single WrestleMania combined?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly why we keep going back.
Did you see that they've made more money on the Saudi Arabia deal than AEW is worth?
Yes, of course.
I'm doing the financial evaluation of WWE, and every time I see someone saying WWE is dead, I want them to look at my Excel. Even because I think people don't understand the way that the number of tickets are decreasing a bit. But they're increasing so much the price that they're making more money right now, even in house shows that they ever did.
Mm-hmm.
So to that point, this past Friday SmackDown, which we'll talk about, which, for my opinion, was the best SmackDown we've seen in a very, very long time, was the highest gate SmackDown's ever done either. So
and SummerSlam was the highest gate that they've ever done for SummerSlam too. Yeah. So yeah,
which is, to be fair, is the first time SummerSlam's done an arena. So
true,
since Wembley, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
And Wembley is a tennis stadium, not a football stadium. It's definitely.
No, it's a football stadium, a soccer stadium.
Wembley?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I stand corrected then.
It is for right now it's for 60,000 people, I guess.
Isn't it where they play Wimbledon?
Huh?
Isn't that where they play Wimbledon?
I think it's an arena close to Wembley,
but
not in Wembley. Wembley was the final of the Euro Cup, and they lost at home, and it was really funny because they decided.
See, look at this. Bruno's already paying dividends, correcting me.
There you go.
Sorry.
This is what happened.
Oh no, it's fine. I'm dumb. I appreciate it when somebody can correct me. I'm usually a Sal. He can't do any of that.
The Wimbledon tennis tournament is held at All England Club in Wimbledon, London.
Okay. You're not allowed to correct me, just Bruno, so fucking stop it.
I have the power of the internet on my side.
Well, motherfucker, I could have looked it up before I said some dumb shit. Sometimes you just gotta take some dumb shit and go out on a limb, all right?
Yeah, that's fine.
I have the power of the sport that no American like.
That's right.
That is my ultimate power.
Got that.
There you go.
You got that going for you. All right, so you, Jason, you wanted to talk about SmackDown?
Yeah, I mean, which part do you want to talk about?
Can I just say just a small comment
Sure.
about the beginning? Troy was saying correctly that some criticism about the Raw episode was like, oh, they are doing things to get more ratings. But funny thing, they did not present someone new. They did not. The only thing that they use is a catalysm to create a new story. Just it.
Yep.
And they are the same people. They feel like, oh, Brian Danielson, Adam Cole, and CM Punk are not ways to create to increase ratings. So
right.
It's just
exactly. Well, obviously the SmackDown show was the day before 9/11. It was the 20-year anniversary of the 9/11 attacks, and they were in Madison Square Garden, which of course is in New York. So there was if you didn't live through 9/11 like me and Jason did, obviously being in America here, you knew exactly what this show was going to be. It was going to be very much like a reminder of like, hey, this happened, but also kind of a reminder that like, hey, WWE also was the ones who were like, yeah, fuck them terrorists, we're going to be the first, show back on TV, and a lot of flag waving. Obviously, they've got their big 9/11 special that they came out with too, and which they had fucking The Undertaker talk on. It's like, motherfucker, you weren't even there. Like, you weren't even on that show afterwards.
Really?
Yeah, he wasn't. He was in the documentary that they did. It's like, why are we talking to you? Because you were injured at that time. You weren't on that show at all. Anyways, but the big thing that took up the majority of the show was Seth Rollins versus Edge, which was a match that I was looking forward to. I was a little surprised that they didn't save it for the pay-per-view. But again, when you think about WWE, their business model changed once they sold off everything to Peacock, where it's like, well, now we're not building towards pay-per-views. We're trying to now just get our own shit in on our network show. So I, for one, thought that this was a great fucking match, Rollins versus Edge. But what do you guys think?
This to me was, first off, without entrances, this was better to me than their SummerSlam match. At least for me, I enjoyed it more. And I enjoyed the SummerSlam match tremendously, but I thought this one was a little bit better. I'm going to go even further. To me, this is the best televised match on wrestling I've seen this year.
Nice.
Yes.
This had literally everything. It had great false finishes. It had one of the hottest crowds I've heard for live television, not counting pay-per-views, obviously. One of the loudest crowds I've heard. It had, tied in long-term storytelling with Rollins finally, after all these years, getting the stomp on Edge. It had set up for the future with Edge coming back at some point to get, just so much was here. This was just beautiful, beautiful storytelling. And this is what wrestling, when it's at its best, can be.
This is one of those matches that and those stories that increases every time they are in the ring. And sometimes it's very difficult. Sometimes you have such a high point, for example, Ciampa and Gargano, that the second point is like a little bit lower. In this case, I think that the story and the last moment, it felt so real. It almost was uncomfortable to watch Edge and Rollins and the emotion they were bringing in their facial expressions. So I agree absolutely with Jason, and for me this was not. I think we could put this on a list for like 10 best matches of the year, I guess. Honestly, it's like, I believe there's like Shingo and Will Ospreay for me. It's still my top match. But top 10, I'm glad to put this masterpiece for me.
Sure. Yeah, sometimes, a lot of times, sequels aren't as good as the originals. But every once in a while, you get a Terminator 2. And I feel like that's the case here, is that there's a good chance that they probably watched that match and were like, okay, well, that was good, but what can we do better? And that's what you want to see. And I feel like they accomplished that. And even though this was on SmackDown instead of on a pay-per-view, they still gave it a ton of time. Probably gave it so much time that we did have to cut Zelina Vega, but which obviously was the other big issue. Was this show was originally supposed to have 4 matches, one of which was the one that they didn't have was Zelina Vega. It was Zelina Vega and who else against Liv Morgan? What was the fucking match was supposed to be?
It was Zelina Vega, is Liv Morgan and Carmella.
That's what it was, yeah. Against
Zelina Vega and Toni Storm.
Toni Storm, yeah, that's right. So a lot was made about the fact that Zelina Vega, of course, did lose her father on 9/11. She apparently had a brand new outfit for the show and everything like that too. Which I understand. Look, I do, and of the things that you were going to cut for time, maybe the 10-man tag match was the thing. even though I get, Trae Young, you wanted to pop the crap, but change it up a little bit. We didn't have to give it that much time, or cut a little bit more off of the Street Profits just to at least get this fucking match in, just so that Zelina could be on the show. Because that is like there are certain things that you wanted to give that woman her time. She was at the next day. She was at the 9/11 memorial. Reading off names of those that we lost that day. But yeah, it was kind of a bummer to see that, and the fact that they didn't even have her come out for any of the dark matches, because there were a ton of them too. like the crowd really needed to see Drew McIntyre fucking beat Happy Corbin. I keep wanting to call him Happy Hogan. Happy Corbin. Because we had to have that match as well as fucking, another dark match with John Cena. But yeah, I don't know.
Like, to your point, do we need this 10-man to go that long, or do we need 17 segments with Kayla trying to interview Paul Heyman?
Right.
Do we need, there's so much you could have cut to get the match. It just seems like, and that's just sort of. Sometimes you want to, as a fan, just grab Vince McMahon's neck and shake him and go, dude, or he wasn't even at SmackDown.
No.
Actually, no. Whoever was running the show, just grab him by the neck, shake him, and go, dude, stop unnecessarily kicking yourself in the dick. It doesn't have to be this hard to just do the smart thing. I don't understand why we so desperately try to fight what the fan base wants and what the fan base will pop for. It blows my mind sometimes with this company. It really does.
Mm-hmm. But I think that the fact that the segment that went too long was Edge and Rollins, and probably they went. Probably the match of Selena was between Edge and Rollins and the main event that was officially the main event. It was the Usos versus Street Profits. I believe there was no anything in between. I think they were in between a rock and a hard place, and okay, so we have to cut it out because we still need Well,
here's where I'll disagree with you, Bruno. As much as much as I love the idea of Street Profits and Usos, because two of the best tag teams in the last decade in WWE, as far as I'm concerned, the match ended with a disqualification. There's a million ways we could have done that in less time and still had Zelina's match.
Yep.
Yes, it's right.
It was a no consequences match at the end of the day. So it could have been very quick. You could have still gotten to exactly the same ending and still had time for Zelina's match.
The problem was the finish was not the greatest, but you will cut a really good match because Usos and Street.
No, but here's what I'm saying. Like, if you don't have the really good match, you can still have the same ending, which leaves open what you're going to do, which is have the match at the pay-per-view, and then the match at the pay-per-view is more special because I haven't watched these guys work a complete match.
Yeah, that's the problem of booking of WWE booking, is that nothing is special anymore because we see them like almost every week, and they repeat stuff so much that when you arrive to every single pay-per-view is like, just like this year's Backlash was WrestleMania Backlash. We feel like every pay-per-view is like Raw Backlash and SmackDown Backlash and everything like that. But, and
that's sort of my only point, is that if that was the ending you were going for and we weren't getting an actual payoff to the match, there was zero reason to not just go right to hot shot to that finish and still sneak the Zelina match in.
Right.
Yeah.
And it would have been much better PR. And the Zelina match didn't have to be long.
Yeah,
you know?
Could be like 2-3 minutes just for her to get that moment on that crowd.
Exactly.
Well,
it doesn't have to be that hard to do the right thing. I wish this company would do that, recognize that more often.
You also didn't really need to have her in a match. Just have her on the show.
Right.
Just even if you're just interviewing her backstage for a second, like just to make sure she's on the show. Like if you're going to cut off her time, just be like, okay, instead of this time with fucking them trying to chase down Paul Heyman, let's have them talk to her.
But I think for her the big thing was performing at Madison Square Garden.
Sure, yeah.
So
yeah. But
that's her hometown.
Right, but as a compromise at least, instead of just nothing.
But it's her hometown and she would have lost. So there's that.
Yeah.
Saved her a loss.
That's true.
So while we're talking about SmackDown and women on SmackDown, I would like to right now provide an open invitation to the Rundown Wrestling Network.
Oh boy.
For any of those people, any of them, who went on social media immediately following SummerSlam to complain about the Becky Lynch victory over
Bianca
Belair, because the way they did that has made Bianca a way bigger star and a way bigger face than she ever was before.
Yep.
Which is, if you'll recall, Troy, exactly what I said was going to happen.
Weird how that works that way.
And exactly why I didn't have a problem with the way they did it.
Mm-hmm.
I open invitation to any of you who want to come on this show and take the L for being absolutely fucking wrong, knee-jerk reaction, having no ability to wait for it to play out and see how it works, and just immediately shitting on it because you didn't like the way WWE did something.
Mm-hmm.
Because by the way, now I cannot fucking wait to see this match, like a real match between these two. Whereas if they had blown their wad at SummerSlam, there would be nothing to look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
I will take a semi-loss, and I will explain you why. Because I had the same, as I was watching SummerSlam, I had the same rationale as you, Jason, with a small caveat. I thought that Bianca was turning heel and not Becky.
Right.
So I was like, okay, because I felt like, okay, Bianca's character is a little bit stale. She, as a champion, she was not growing as much as we do. Okay, let's make a heel turn, put Becky here, and we going for it. But like I was saying, I was expecting this to be something even better for Bianca, but I was expecting as a heel and not as a face. Mm-hmm. But amazing, man.
And here's the problem with Bianca's face run is that she didn't have, the only heel she had to play off of was Carmella.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now she's got a legit badass heel to play off of. And I will say I wasn't sure Becky could pull. I undersold Becky. I didn't know Becky could turn the crowd. She fucking did. Good on her. I know the last time they tried that, it was just the fans refused to boo her, but she did a fantastic job. The big fur coat. It's like she's taken Seth Rollins' How to Be a Douchebag courses and passing with flying colors. But she did a great job. But having her on the other side just makes Bianca so much more endearing. And it's done wonders for both of them, honestly.
Yeah.
Becky feels fresh and new and exciting in a way she didn't anytime before she left. And let's be honest, I loved the last kicker. I loved the man. But if she came back and just went right back into doing that, it would have gotten very stale very quick.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Becky is doing to Bianca what Ronda Rousey did to Becky.
Yeah.
Someone, because I believe that on that point, not in for the eyes of the fans, but for the eyes of everyone else, the star was Ronda, and Ronda was the huge money drawing deal.
Yeah.
And the way that they created, they passed to a face what was a really strong money drawing heel.
Yeah.
And I believe that they're doing exactly the same thing. And when I saw the build up for WrestleMania, I was the one that said one of the few that said, okay, Bianca, I don't feel as hot as I felt that she needed to be for the position of being in the main event of WrestleMania. I think that if you want to put like Bianca versus Becky on the main event of Extreme Rules, I'll be happy for it.
Yeah.
It is the harder match right now.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And credit Becky during this contract. Like, so what would happen if I just didn't sign this? Like, all these contract signings, and nobody's ever asked that question. And I love that she was the only one to do it, the first one to do that. So that was awesome. But she's done such a good job. She really has in a very short period of time. Both of these women are doing some of the best work I've seen them do. And this segment was fantastic. And like I said, anybody that wants, and Meltzer, Alvarez, any of you guys who shit all over this at SummerSlam that want to come on and take the L, feel free to join us next Tuesday night. We will be here. Shoot us Rundown Wrestling on Twitter. Shoot us a DM. DMs are open. Feel free to come on and just let us know, because you guys need to come and take that L.
Boy, you use the term DM and come in the same sentence, and it just was natural.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. So, anything else?
Oh, we cannot get because we cannot get out of SmackDown without talking about our tribal
yes,
chief.
that's right. Yep. Yeah.
Because one of
the first segment and the last segment.
Yes, fantastic first segment, because for those of you who didn't see it, it opens with Roman comes out and basically says, WWE owns New York City and I own WWE, which basically means I own New York City. Mm-hmm. Huge heat. Great job by Roman there. Then Lesnar comes out, ridiculous pop. I love the home improvement thing on Twitter. That was great.
Yep.
Comes out, great pop, gets in the ring, and fantastic. Paul, why didn't you tell Roman I was coming to SummerSlam? And everybody, ooh. Roman does a great job, rips his belt out of Heyman's hands, and Heyman looks like the poor child that just got told you're not eating Christmas dinner. And then Roman and the Usos go to leave, and Lesnar's laughing, and Heyman grabs the mic and does the old school Brock Lesnar intro. And then Brock says, listen, I just got one question. Why won't Roman accept my challenge? He's got 5 seconds. He picks him up and gets him in the F5. And then Roman saves Heyman. And like, this whole thing was just beautiful. Like, so fucking well done.
Lesnar proved that on the mic, he could be something else, even without Paul Heyman, because you don't need to be, as a wrestler, I guess you don't have to do like a 20-minute Triple H promo in the middle of the ring to open Raw. You can just do sparkly things, just small but impactful phrases like the one, why don't you tell Roman that I was coming in? And basically making moments that will last forever.
It's a very foreign concept, Bruno, to WWE, that less can sometimes be more.
Yeah.
True.
Because WWE believes in more is more. But no, yeah, it was great. And then, of course, we get to the end of the show.
Dun, dun.
Troy?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. After Roman beats the ever-loving piss out of Finn Balor, he goes walking away and, or not? No, sorry, that was last week. No. Yeah. So
Usos.
Yeah. After the Usos match, we get a little bit of lightning, and nope, not the Undertaker this time. Out comes the return of the Demon. And
first off, very important, the return of the Demon, not the Demon King.
Correct.
Yes.
I don't know if that's
It's almost like they're letting Balor run with it finally.
Yeah, I don't know if that was part of the fact that Keen is no longer there all the time because he was the Devil's Favorite Demon, and so I don't know if that was something along those lines or if it was just like we're letting him be the fucking person he's supposed to be. But yeah, we get the return of him again. Fucking body paint looked on point. The entrance was great again, and there's still a little bit of the new Finn Balor in this, which I like. This wasn't exactly the same Demon as we saw before. There's still a little bit more cockiness to him, which I liked. But yeah, so Roman Reigns will not be facing Finn Balor at Extreme Rules. He'll be facing the Demon.
And one more thing. The end of the segment was just a stare down. They didn't touch. There was no coup de grace or something like that. They saved that for the pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
So important.
Yeah.
Right. Now, here's first major question. How many layers of Adam's pants did he rip through?
Oh, boy. A lot, dude. I don't know. Well, I'll have to text him and see how many pairs he was wearing. But, I mean, I would assume he's got to respackle that wall because he just spackled it again.
I would think so. But the second thing is the only, and this is just probably me being overly negative towards WWE based on their history. I have a hard time getting super into even the Demon Finn Balor versus Roman, knowing that they're already promoting Roman and Brock Lesnar.
Sure.
Because you're almost telling me that this match, the Demon Finn Balor is going to lose. And once the Demon Finn Balor loses, I feel like that takes all the wind out of the sails of the character.
Yeah. Yeah, the only person so far that has beaten him is Samoa Joe. And that was at NXT, so he is
in the cage match, right?
Yep. Yeah. So that it'll be interesting, but I would love to see it happen. I would love to see Finn take it, but are you okay over there?
Yep.
What's wrong?
Just watching the Red Sox.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Was it a touchdown?
Yeah. It's like having Adam here. You would think professional major league outfielders would be able to catch the ball without it popping out of their gloves, but
yeah, basically.
You know.
Oh my goodness.
They scored the goal, so something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, something like that.
But I have to give WWE something great that I usually don't give, is that they provide two interesting opponents for Lesnar, for Roman, in the space of 2 months. Like the Demon Balor and Brock Lesnar. You can see them basically, if you want, they are credible enough to beat Roman.
Yep.
And for some time we haven't seen anyone that you can say, okay, this guy could beat Roman if the situation is correctly.
Sure.
And And I think that is absolutely wonderful. I'm very excited to see the match. And I have to say is that in a recent interview, actually for a Portuguese channel, Balor joined the feud with Lesnar in a very interesting way, saying just this. First of all, it was one of his best matches ever against Lesnar on Royal Rumble, and I believe it said something like, "He never beat the Demon; he just beat Finn Balor."
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I believe that there's 2 weeks until Extreme Rules, 3 weeks. So they can still tell the story of putting doubts in our brains that, okay, we can go with probably the more logical path, and that is Roman versus Lesnar, but we can also go Lesnar versus Demon Balor.
Right. Yeah. Very true. I mean, I'm excited to see where they go with it. I just, if they put the belt on Balor and we build to a triple threat, great, no problem with that. I just feel like I wish that they were promoting them separately, because by promoting them both at the same time, I really do feel like it tells us where they're going. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, card subject to change though. So maybe. All right. Anything else, gentlemen?
I think that's it for me.
Get your vaccination, please.
Oh, please.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, we didn't do what's going on in your life, but this week, a friend of my son's was confirmed positive. He's having a rough time with it. He'll be fine, I think, but definitely struggling a little bit. So, X, just want to shout you out, buddy. We're thinking of you. I hope you feel better soon. But also, over and above all that, the kids are now back in school over here. I don't know how things are over there, Bruno, but so that was like a bunch of kids got close contacts, and now they can't go to school. And my son actually, this was Friday, and then my son on Monday ended up getting a headache at school, and the headache got bad enough that he threw up. And as a result, he was out today. We had to take him this morning for a COVID test. Fortunately and thankfully, he is negative. So, but he's very soon to be able to be vaccinated. He will very soon hit that age where he can officially be vaccinated, and I will feel a lot better once that is actually a thing.
No. You cannot say that without doing that as the Grizzled Young Vets.
To be vaccinated.
There we go.
I really want when I finally get the PhD, I have Jason saying soon to be.
There you go. We'll do that for your next intro.
There you go.
For us in Portugal, we are with 85% fully one shot and 78 fully vaccinated, but we still use